Hey everybody, Dr. Joey Kramer, Hope Upper Cervical Spine Center, and today we are continuing our conversation on fortifying your nervous system through the habits of your daily life. And if you recall, these habits are something that we rarely ever evaluate unless you are deeply in tune with yourself, and you're one of those types of people that is in the top one percenter, right? You are working to actively, squeeze out the best performance possible from your life day in and day out. But for the majority of you, that is not where you are. Majority of you rarely ever evaluate a habit. You rarely ever pay attention to it until it becomes a problem in your life, right? And then we have these options of pathways that we choose to go down. Many of them resolve in medication or surgery or, something along those lines. However, when we start talking about our nervous system, when we start talking about ways that we can fortify it, we have to make sure that we are talking about every single aspect of our day-to-day life, what we saturate ourselves in, what our environment consists of. Because as we know, a cell that is constantly in a threatened environment will no longer thrive. So we have to figure out how to create or enrich our environment that to a place that is one of strength and then one of consistency that creates these habitual performances that allow us to operate at peak capacity day in and day out. And so today we are going to cover one of the things that is most commonly brought up in our practice, and that surrounds the topic of sleep. And for many of you, sleep is something that we never really pay attention to, right? And it's mainly how we were trained or how we were raised. We just kind of go in our room, we go to bed, right? And that may be it. But if you struggle with sleep, you have studied most of what I'm going to talk about today because I've struggled with sleep in the past. It's something that we have to actually pay attention to. And so I got notes like usual, and on our notes, we always like to give you, the reader or the listener, the opportunity to see, really to hear and to listen and to see. And so what we're going to start with on our sleep, I got all my points up here. You guys can screen capture it or come back to it. But what we want to start with is that we know a whole lot about sleep. We know sleep. Wow, let's get in here. What is going on with my pen here? This guy is not working for me. Okay, well, in that case, if we're going to talk about sleep and we're going to look at what's going to happen with sleep and how we're going to take care of it, we know that sleep has to have 8 hours a night, somewhere between 7 and 8. So let's just go over here and do this 7 to 8 hours a night. That is really what we are going to be working on with this. And so, from a sleep perspective, I'm sorry, what we're going to be focusing on, we're going to start with the high level points 7 to 8 hours a night. So, what this means is that we know for a fact that if you sleep less than 7 hours, you are going to subject your body to an inordinate amount of stress. You're going to have higher cortisol throughout the day. Your sugar cravings are going to be higher. Your carbohydrates cravings are going to be higher. You will be more susceptible to having a less resilient willpower when it comes to feeding the body, right? And so your body in this state of stress is going to be in a protect mode, right? You're going to, hair on edge, have a short temper, and you are going to be focused on feeding it these sugars that try to, satisfy the craving of dopamine due to the low functioning of stress in the system. Now, longer than 8 hours is also problematic because that is going to contribute to a state of inactivity, right? And so that's showing us that there's a range on this. Somewhere between 7 and 8 hours is ideal. The next point that I want to talk about with this is that consistency is king. And see, I thought about this a long time ago because there's this trend that we have in Western culture and how we live our lives, right? For a majority of you, we dread Monday. We work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, we half ass. We stay out all Friday night with our friends, drinking, partying, slamming beers, eating cheese fries, having ice cream, and, doing all those things. Saturday, whatever season you're in right now, we're in college football. So you might be, hanging out with the boys, watching college football, slamming 30 packs of beer all day long. That's like having that party, right? Sunday, you do that with football, you're watching pro, or you're doing something along those lines. And then you have to figure out how to recover by Monday. In that phase, you have no consistency. Your sleep is completely dysregulated. Your body is like, what the hell are you doing to me? And you are trying to figure out why I am feeling spent after a repetitive cycle of doing this through your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. And now suddenly in your 50s, you're like, dude, my body's burnt out. I'm not absorbing minerals. I have a low thyroid problem. I got testosterone problems. I got hormonal issues. My body is just spent, right? So instead, I want to propose to you that consistency is king. Every single day within the same time frame, you need to be going to bed within an hour of a time window and waking up within that same hour. So in my life, right, it's typically 8:45 to 9:45, and I'm up somewhere between 4:45 and 5:45 every single day of the week, right? That's not just a Monday through Friday discipline. That is something that is Monday through Sunday. That's 24/7, 365, right? Now, even on vacation, I still abide by that because the goal here is to maintain that consistency. That's what we're trying to get after, right? Now, occasionally, do we have a late night? Yeah, we might have that once in a blue moon, but it's not where it is the regular pattern of the typical Western life. The next thing we're going to talk about, point number 3, really simple: no caffeine after 2 o'clock. Caffeine dysregulates your sleep cycle, messes with melatonin, screws up your ability to actually ease into that sleep cycle. So if you're a caffeineaholic or a caffeine junkie like I am, cut it off after 2 o'clock. Number 4 on my points, we have this wonderful thing that I like to call 3-2-1. I learned this one from Huberman. I've learned it from listening to Sean Baker. I've learned it from Joe Rogan, right? All these powerful people on their podcast, bringing on very smart people when they talk about these things. 3-2-1 is really simple. No food 3 hours before bed. No water 2 hours before bed. Cut the screens 1 hour before bed. So for many of you, you have a really hard habit here, right? Many of you like the late night snack. Many of you like to drink to go to bed. Many of you like to have a nightcap, right? Go hit that whiskey, hit that wine, right? Have a nice little cocktail, right? And lay down in bed and while you watch your movie, right? That habit's got to change. You got to stop it. It's interrupting your ability to perform at your very best. It's interrupting your biochemical and your biophysiology processes. It's screwing with hormone regulation and causing disruption to your body's ability to ease into that sleep cycle and allow recovery to take place. 3-2-1, very simple. We're not doing CrossFit. We're talking about hours. 3 hours before bed, no food. 2 hours, stop drinking any liquids. And 1 hour before bed, cut your screens. Sunlight. I think this is a really fascinating one that I've recently come across, and it came across it from the Good Energy book. She has a little chapter in there where it starts talking about the rods and cones of your eyes and how artificial light inhibits the normal hormonal regulation of the body. And her challenge to you is that every single day, your first 10 minutes of being awake, right after you get out of bed and put your clothes on, is to be outside, right? You need to be outside. And for me, I get up, it's dark out, and I ask the question of myself, I'm like, am I really benefiting from this? And she, as well as Huberman, make the argument that even if it is still dark outside, the color spectrum that is happening at that time is actually engaging the rise of cortisol, the starting of your, the depletion of melatonin, and the autonomic calendar of, hey, it's time to wake up, it's time to get active. She also makes the plea that at least 3 nights a week, you sit outside and watch the sunset. Now, we live in Texas. It gets hot or it gets really cold. So permit yourself to be dressed, weather accordingly, but to be outside while the sun sets, not looking at it through a window, but enjoying it in nature and standing in that direction, facing it as it goes down in the west and watching it without glasses, right? Without sunglasses, without any eye protection, and letting your body absorb those evening rays, because that will help stimulate the melatonin cycle and kick you into that state of calming down, right? Even better if you do this right after dinner, you're working your way into that 3-2-1 window, sitting outside, enjoying the evening, right? Super important. That's a really great point to bring up. Point number six, room temperature. Now, this is where husbands and wives typically get into massive arguments. But it's found that ideal, the colder you sleep, the better, right? You need to have this thermal regulation that is not just this consistent 72 degrees every single day of your life. You need to actually be subjected to a cold environment. Your body heats up at nighttime. God made blankets, or we created blankets for a reason. They are super important for like insulating your body while you are subjected to cold. So at nighttime, 65 to 68 is ideal. I know some of us that's going to be budgetary constraints because you can't run that in the summer when it's 115 outside. But when it becomes wintertime, probably more ideal, right? Open the window at night, unless you got smokers next door to you. But let your house cool down. That's super important to allow you to sleep. Blackout curtains. Room needs to be pitch black. That's pretty straightforward, right? That should be very, very simple. Red lights. Recently, I came across this idea, and I've been really reflecting on this. I'm gonna put a little note on this. I don't know why I'm on that one. We're gonna put a little note here, and we're gonna use amber. It's probably gonna be better descriptor of this. But overhead lights stimulate the eyes to stay awake. So it's better in your bedroom to cut overhead lights to transition to lamps and for your lamps to have red light bulbs, right? You may say, well, Dr. Kramer, my kids get home from practice late, we stay up late. Well, in your main rooms of living after sunset, you need to have lamp lighting as your ideal lights, right? Cut the overhead lights. Those are obtrusive to your eyes. They're obtrusive to the nature of staying awake, and they are interrupting your ability to thrive. So let's look at red lights. I don't have any brands on this yet. I'm still working on it. Coming back to that. Weighted blankets. I just now discovered this myself. I can't sleep without one now. Really awesome. 10% of your body weight is what you're supposed to sleep with. I use sleepfoundation.org for looking for my blankets, my pillows, my mattresses. It's a great way to go take some, read some really good, honest feedback and find out which one is going to work best for you. I went with a Bearby cotton napper. I got a king size. I'm 250 pounds, needs to weigh 25 pounds. Super important to really consider that. Helps decrease anxiety, helps allow you to sleep throughout the night more consistently so you're not waking up. It also gives you this state of comfort, a state of peace, right? So you're not having to wrestle with blankets, etc. One of the other most common questions I get asked in practice is, Doc, does sleep position matter? A long time ago, I used to be told that, sleeping on your stomach is terrible for you. My answer for you has changed as I've grown, and it is whatever position allows you to sleep all night long is the position you need to sleep in. That's a back sleeper, great. If it's a side sleeper, great. If it's a stomach sleeper, fine. However, make sure that point number 11, your bed and your pillow support you in that position, right? We don't want to have our chin tucked. We don't want to have our head tilted this way, right? We don't want to be sitting forced with a rotation and extension on our pillow, right? We want to have a comfortable position that we're not fighting at all night long so that we can actually allow our body to go through this restful state. Bed and pillows, sleepfoundation.org. Some of the latest things, though, that we're going to face in today's day and age are going to be Wi-Fi, cell phones, and alarm clocks. Growing up, we had an analog alarm clock. I still have my original analog alarm clock from when I was in second grade. I think we bought it at Conn's. It's a little, like box this big by Timex. It has time and it has an alarm, right? That's all it has on it. It's not connected to the internet. You have to plug it into the wall. You can silence it or turn it off so you can't see the light. It just turns on when you need the alarm to go off. Super important because in today's day and age, we are connected to everything. You all have Alexa in your room. You have a cell phone in your room. You have your Apple Watch. You have your Oura Ring. You have every single obtrusive thing that's in there, tracking, monitoring, doing all these things. I think it's super important that you put a Wi-Fi or a kill switch on your Wi-Fi router. You shut that sucker off. You put it on all your major devices, right? Your Apple TVs and all those things. You plug the routers into it and you just execute that, right? So you kill the Wi-Fi, make it happen when you go to bed, turn it on. Like I would say probably in that 3, 2, 1 range. At that 2-hour mark, cut the Wi-Fi, right? We don't need TV that late. We don't need screens that late. Let's just get rid of it. And then I would also tell you that you can turn it on after an hour of being awake, right? Let's stay off that Wi-Fi, stay off the cell phone. Get the cell phone out of the bedroom, get the iPhone out of the bedroom, get the Apple Watch out of the bedroom. Put all that stuff on a charging station somewhere preferably far away from where you sleep. So you're not, giving yourself that EMF, radiation that's so stimulating to our brain. On alarm clocks, buy yourself a $15 analog alarm clock off Amazon. Set the timer, put it next to your bed. That's all you need. You don't need anything crazy along those lines, right? We need to make sure that we maintain those throughout time. These are, that's really what this is. It's figuring out my habits surrounding sleep, what I need to do, what things I maybe have not thought about in my life that are impacting me, and making sure that we are taking into consideration each one of these 14 points, because each one of them will play into my ability to actually fortify my nervous system, right? While you sleep, your body heals. And if you don't sleep, you don't run through a healing, regeneration, and repair cycle. And therefore, you do not accelerate your results of the demand you put upon your body, right? Day in and day out, you are subjecting yourself or immersing yourself in this trash environment that we have. The most important thing that you need to do is to protect and guard your sleep. 7 to 8 hours a night. Go to bed within the same hour, wake up within the same hour every single day, 24/7, 365. Cut caffeine after 2, 3, 2, 1. No food 3 hours before bed. No water 2 hours before bed. I should say any form of liquids 2 hours, and no screens 1 hour before bed. Make sure you get 10 minutes of sunlight first thing in the morning, at least 3 days a week. I would tell you 7 days a week. It's a non-negotiable for you. And make sure you see at least 3 sunsets, right? That is outside, no glasses, not behind a window, not behind a door, or any of those types of things. Room temperature, colder is better for sleep. Blackout curtains, no brainer there. Amber red lights on all your lamps. Cut the overhead lights after the sun goes down. Weighted blankets, 10% of your body weight. Sleep position doesn't matter. Sleep in the place that makes you most comfortable. Just make sure you have the right mattress and the right pillow. Cut the Wi-Fi, get the cell phones out of the bedroom. Make sure you have an analog alarm clock, and then start doing this every single day. And I guarantee you, within a period of 3 months, you will have way better quality of sleep. So, without further ado, I hope today's episode on fortifying your nervous system by evaluating your sleep habits has provided for you maybe one or two takeaway points that you did not know before that you can go implement today and follow through with to see if this will actually elevate your sleep and help you continue to perform at your very best.